Hi everybody and welcome. I'm back in the comfort of, I suppose you'd say the back blocks of Sukhumvit in Bangkok. I'm going to clear out my old apartment today, head back to Phuket, but in the meantime, there's just been a few things happening. And, today I suppose all I can do is try to bring you up to date with the latest, and we can't even say that this is the last, but it is at least the latest information about, I suppose it all started last Thursday, when they said that people would have to provide COVID vaccination certificates if they were going to return to Thailand. That situation no longer exists after two different NOTAMs, that's the Notice to Air Missions, and a host of other announcements made by the Public Health Minister, who now is obviously under a lot of pressure, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's move on to that main headlines. The Bangkok Post says that entry requirements have been clarified for overseas visitors. The government clarified that the Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand's rules for incoming international passengers, scrapping a rule which required inbound travellers to show proof of COVID-19 vaccinations. So you don't need to show your COVID-19 vaccination certificates. The problem is there are people who are caught in the twilight zone between what was announced last Thursday that leaked out to the airlines and, to check-in staff, and what the situation is now. So we're getting emails coming into TNT. I know Richard Barrow's got a lot of comments on his daily blog, and they're saying that they're arriving at the airport and they're being refused entry onto the aircraft because they don't have their COVID vaccination certificates. So this situation is going to continue at least for a few days as the situation becomes a little bit more clear and the latest information filters down to those poor check-in staff who really probably have absolutely no idea what the hell's going on, and who'd blame them? While incoming passengers won't be asked to produce a COVID-19 vaccination certificate upon arriving in Thailand, travellers are urged to take note of additional rules which might impact their journey. So let's go through some of the remaining guidelines that remain in place. Passengers whose flights originate in a country that still has COVID-19 travel restrictions, which may prevent them from returning in the case of infection, are required to purchase health insurance. Well, now a place like Australia, for example, they don't have any inbound restrictions, so that wouldn't apply to you. But it may apply to some countries. So if your country still has COVID-19 travel restrictions, then you will have to purchase health insurance, and that's going to have to cover at least, let's go to the slide, 10,000 US of COVID-19 treatment plus an additional 7 days to the length of your stay. So if you're coming from 7 days, you're going to have to get 7 plus 7 days of COVID-19 insurance valued at least 10,000 US. But there are some exemptions. Incoming students and business travellers may be exempted. What does may mean? From purchasing health insurance if they're able to show that their hosts have agreed to cover the cost of COVID-19 treatment throughout the duration of their stay. So if you're coming to a business meeting, a convention perhaps, or if you're a student, then you're probably going to have to get a letter from your school or the convention saying that they're going to cover your COVID-19 costs. Good luck with that. But there's some more. This might apply to you. Holders of diplomatic passports and UN laissez-passer documents are also exempted from the health insurance requirements. Probably doesn't include you and me. Holders of Thai passports and transit transfer passengers are exempted from vaccination checks and health insurance requirements. So if you're flying from the United States to India, for example, through transit, and you're transiting through Bangkok or Phuket, then you don't need any of these documents or the health insurance. Passengers who fail to produce the required documents must be subjected to COVID-19 testing at the port of arrival. So I don't know if they've got all the stations set up at Suvarnabhumi, Don Mueang, Chiang Mai, Phuket, maybe even Utupao, where people are arriving. I'd suggest they probably haven't got them set up yet, but apparently if you arrive without some of that documentation, you will be subjected to a COVID-19 test. Oh, and what will happen if you actually test positive? No information about that. Airlines must adhere to and ask passengers to comply with related public health regulations, such as wearing masks at all times except during meals or emergency situations. So if you do travel to Thailand at the moment, the airline may require you to wear a mask. So probably best just to pop one into your pocket. And no matter what you think about wearing masks at the moment, for the convenience of everybody, it just may be a requirement. Let's move on to some more coverage on this story. And this from Qantas. Qantas says that you're no longer required to show proof of COVID-19 vaccination or negative pre-departure tests when entering Thailand. Passengers travelling to Thailand whose departure may be prevented due to COVID-19, for example, when leaving Thailand, your destination country could require a negative pre-departure test, must also have travel insurance policy. So you're going to have to check with your own embassy website, but as of today, many of those embassy websites simply aren't going to be up to date. But you can see there now that the airlines are trying to get that information to their passengers. That from Qantas in Australia. Now, of course, the TAT are into this, and I love the way that they've gone about it. They've produced this slide saying Thailand is welcoming all visitors from around the world. Fully reopen. Entry requirements introduced on the 1st of October remain in effect. They've mentioned nothing about the debacle over the last 4 days. They're just going straight to the positive. And why not? Thailand maintains fully reopen entry rules. Only visitors coming from or going to countries which require a PCR test need to have health insurance covering treatment of COVID-19 in Thailand. So they do have the fine print there. The TAT would like to clarify that Thailand continues to welcome all international tourists under the fully reopened to tourism policy that was introduced back on the 1st of October last year. Thailand's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Health, Anatun Sharvirakun, said international travellers arriving in Thailand are not required to show proof of vaccination. In addition, foreign tourists are not required to show ATK or PCR test results. That information now freely available on most news websites, well, the ones that keep up to date anyway, as well as the TAT. So, look, I mean, if you make a copy of some of these articles and show them to the check-in staff if you have any problems, hopefully they might let you on board. No guarantee, though. Certainly glad, though, that last Thursday when all this started, I said, just hang in for a couple of days because I think there'll be some changes. I have to admit I didn't see them cancelling it altogether, but this is where we are, and that's of Tuesday. There might be some more changes, but at the moment, at least unvaccinated people can return to Thailand, but it just might take a few days for all the information to rattle through down to the check-in staff. So hang in there, and we look forward to seeing you in Thailand. Well, I had a funny ride yesterday from Chumpon into Bangkok. Firstly, we encountered some roadworks, which is where I actually did a very quick vlog trying to bring you up to date with the latest news. And thank you to those people who have berated me for doing a vlog while driving. I know it was illegal. I thank you for your concern. And upon reflection, perhaps I shouldn't have done it. But at the same time, I was very keen to get that information to you. And we were stuck in that traffic jam. So, well, I put 2 and 2 together and I got 17. And that's what happened. But an interesting thing happened when I got right into Bangkok. And of course, you know, with the freeways and all the overpasses and the intersections and the underpasses, Google was a little bit confused, or I didn't perhaps interpret Google's instructions properly. But the lady, who strangely has an Australian accent, gave me some instructions which sent me on a wild goose chase. For about half an hour I was going through the back blocks of the Klong Toi slums. in my nice, clean, white HRV. It was a funny situation, but eventually I got to my accommodation. So a bit of fun yesterday getting into Bangkok. But all the roads, all the way from Chumpon to Bangkok, it's pretty much double lane freeway. In some places, 3 lanes in each directions. And there were quite a few checkpoints. They were checking on people not displaying their registration. They were even checking on people's licenses. So luckily I had all that in place. But I think I was stopped twice yesterday on my way from Chumpon into Bangkok. All very polite though, no problems. But they were frisking 500 and 1,000 baht from a few people who failed to comply. All right, to our next story now. And something completely different. This is the announcement of the Golden Disc Awards. The Golden Disc Awards are the most popular awards in South Korea, in the South Korean music industry, also known as K-pop. And with K-pop becoming so massively popular over the last 3 or 4 years around the world and pervasive, and winning awards like winning at the Grammys last year, and certainly the American Music Awards, where both BTS and Blackpink have been taking some of the major awards. Suddenly the Golden Disc Awards are a much bigger deal, and they were held in Bangkok this year. And interesting there that singer Psy wins Artist of the Year at the Golden Disc Awards. Now, you remember Psy? He was the one who came out with Gangnam Style. Let's read a bit further from this article in the Thai PBS World. South Korean pop singer Psy, who shot to international fame for his Gangnam Style mega hit in 2012, was the Artist of the Year at the 37th Golden Disc Awards, held at the Rajamangala National Stadium in Bangkok on Saturday night. So he's been around for quite a while, and he was the face of K-pop for quite a few years. And I think from memory, the first YouTube clip to ever reach 1 billion views. He's been surpassed by quite a few other artists now, but he won the Artist of the Year. Let's read a bit further. K-pop group BTS won Album of the Year for the 6th time in a row. The award was received by J-Hope on behalf of the band. Interestingly, the band BTS, 7 members, the oldest member has had to go into the compulsory military service in South Korea, so the mega band has had to sort of go on a bit of a hiatus, waiting for, well, all the members are going to have to go into military service over the next few years. But wow, they've had an amazing run. To our next story today, and to Phuket, and a search continues for a Romanian tourist missing in the seas off Phuket. This story in ThaiPBSWorld.com. Thai rescue officials resumed their search on Monday, that's yesterday, for a Romanian who went missing in the sea off Phuket after he reportedly dived into the water near Kokau Island to free the boat's anchor. The search for the 46-year-old was suspended on Sunday evening due to the rough seas and darkness. So then we learned that the missing man, his compatriot, and a Thai woman boarded a speedboat from Naihan Beach, and they were heading to Kokau Island. They dropped an anchor about 100 metres from the shore. When they tried to move on, the anchor got stuck and the man decided to dive down to free it, but he did not resurface when the anchor was released. Those on board searched for him before alerting the emergency services. So, missing man, a Romanian, 46 years old, still missing off Phuket. We go now to the Bangkok Post, and I should have kept this in mind yesterday. Points system for drivers in force. I was very careful about trying to keep to the speed limit. Speed limits yesterday on the roads were either 90 or they went up to 120 in some locations where we had the 3-lane freeways. So anyway, if you do break the law, you can now lose points on a new driver's demerit system, which started yesterday. The Royal Thai Police have implemented a demerit point system in a bid to improve driving discipline and road safety. Every driving licence holder will be given 12 points. So at the start of a 12-month period, you're going to be given 12 points, and then you've got to try and keep those 12 points throughout the year. So things like speeding, riding without a helmet, using a mobile phone while driving, failing, I think I was doing that yesterday, failing to fasten seatbelts or not stopping for pedestrians will warrant a 1 point deduction. 2 points will be deducted for running a red light or driving on the wrong side of the road. More serious traffic offences like hit and run will get 3 demerit points. Hit and run, I think you should be going to jail. The highest penalty of 4 demerit points will be driving while impaired by alcohol or illicit drugs, as well as being involved in illicit street racing or reckless driving. If drivers lose all their points within a year, their licences will be suspended. Drivers who fail to comply with the suspension order will be liable to a maximum term of 3 months in jail or a 10,000 baht fine. So the demerit point system is now in force. Let's go to our next story now, and a lot of people welcoming back the Chinese from yesterday. This story from The Guardian: we're ready. Relief and excitement builds in Thailand with Chinese tourists set to return. Southeast Asian nations avoid rules targeting Chinese visitors despite COVID risks and hope the influx will revive the battered tourism sectors. On Sunday, China scrapped the requirements for inbound travellers to quarantine, making holidaying abroad much easier. The policy change is expected to boost the tourism sector across the wider region, including Southeast Asia, which of course has been very dependent on Chinese tourists in the past. Noting back in 2019, about 33% of all tourists were from China. Second paragraph there. A person who runs a restaurant in Chiang Mai says screening tourists who arrive is a good idea, he says. They should check the vaccination cards and even ask for a COVID test. I know it doesn't give 100% protection, but it's still better than nothing. So this is a bit of a voice of the suburbs, one of the Chiang Mai restaurateurs giving their ideas. He said he isn't worried about COVID. He says COVID is everywhere, not only in China. There's still new cases every day here. But with the current strain, it's milder. Everybody needs to work and income to live their life. So just dispensing his own wisdom on the matter. But interesting quotes there from the Guardian article. One particular person from Chiang Mai, a restaurateur, welcoming the Chinese back. And from Thai PBS World, Thailand grandly welcomes first Chinese flight of tourists in about 3 years. 269 Chinese tourists from Xiamen in China landed at Thailand's Suvarnabhumi Airport yesterday. The first group of Chinese visitors arrived at the airport 12:50. They were greeted by 3 ministers: the Minister of Public Health, the Minister of Transport, and the Minister of Tourism and Sports. Obviously, they had nothing better to do. And it says that Anaton, who told a press conference at the airport that a requirement for proof of COVID vaccination for foreign tourists has been cancelled, put flower garlands around tourists' necks and gave gifts together with other ministers and public officials. There are the 3 ministers who decided to go and get a photo opportunity whilst all the chaos that they've caused over the past 3 or 4 days engulfed people who were just trying to get on a plane and come to Thailand. 15 flights from mainland China with 3,464 passengers were scheduled to arrive yesterday. Officials anticipate they'll welcome at least 300,000 Chinese visitors throughout the first 3 months of 2023. So it looks like the Chinese travellers are going to return, and it's going to be an interesting few months. If we do start seeing a rise in local COVID cases, what are the authorities going to do? We don't know. Neither do you. Let's go to our final story today, also from The Guardian. This is a bit of an explainer. Consuming cannabis in Thailand, what tourists need to know about the marijuana rules. Well, we've still got the situation. This was also, of course, introduced by Anaton Charnvirakul, the Public Health Minister. So 2 complete botch-ups in 6 months. Firstly, with the decriminalisation of cannabis, which has been a total legislative disaster, and now of course with the situation of COVID vaccination certificates being required and then not being required. So he's having a good run. Let's go to this article, and it says confusing government amendments to the laws and continued debate about what should be permitted has created what's become known as a weed Wild West that could land tourists in trouble. And that's the point, because there's no actual ground rules for the use of cannabis. You're in a situation where police, if they decide to, might put you in a difficult situation which could involve you having to cough up a bit of money. This cannabis advocate, Kitty, says since legislation, no one really knows whether we have the correct information. So let's go through the guidelines in this article, which might just give you a bit of a brief what you can and shouldn't do at the moment. Who can consume cannabis? Well, you're going to have to be older than 20, not pregnant or breastfeeding. Where can you consume it? Well, in an individual's residence, and cannabis inside food can be consumed at a licensed restaurant. Smoking marijuana in public places such as schools, temples and shopping malls will lead to a fine, and I think also just using it generally in public, the rule is don't encroach on other people's space. Where can you buy it? Well, there's 2,600 registered weed stores across the country. If you walk around this part of Sukhumvit in Bangkok, it's pretty much on every street corner. Not quite as popular as Family Marts or 7-Elevens, but it's sort of getting close. Can you grow it? In order to cultivate cannabis, individuals must register with the country's Food and Drug Administration. How much can you consume? Well, there's no limit apparently, but the Minister's Guide does, however, advise against driving after consumption. Yeah, I think that's a fairly good suggestion. And what remains prohibited? Tourists cannot enter or leave the country carrying any part of the plant or its seeds. As well, possession of extracts with a THC level higher than 0.2% requires permission that tourists are unlikely to have. And the spokesperson finally says the people who live here, that's Thailand, and use cannabis appropriately and responsibly would hope that our guests and visitors will respect Thailand and the people around them and do things responsibly. So that article in The Guardian, a bit of a quick explainer on the current situation with the weed Wild West, as it's called. And with that, hopefully you're a bit more up to date with things happening around Thailand. And from my little rented apartment here in Bangkok, only for 2 days this time, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Big thanks to 5 Star Marine, our ongoing sponsor, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.